Good evening, everybody, and happy Juneteenth Day. My name is Scott Morgan, Roth Motor City Madmouth. This is the Sports Exchange, and we have a loaded show tonight. Let me go over the topics and go over the crew. We're going to talk about the Edmonton Oilers, Florida Panthers, the NBA Finals. We're going to talk about the in-season tournament. Once upon a time, there was actually one of those. Gino Oriana is going to make our conversation today. We're going to talk about the Alabama Crimson Tide. Monty Williams got fired, but I don't feel sorry for the guy. Willie Mays, and of course, Josh Maravich will be on here as well. With that said, let me go ahead and introduce the crew right to left. Katie Ebling, welcome back.
Thanks, Scott. Great to be here.
Joe Ellis, welcome back.
Hey, everybody. Another week. Let's do it.
All right, and George Eichhorn.
All right, guys. Good to see you all.
All right, let's get to business here. Number one, the Edmonton Oilers, who, by the way, should be up 3-2 in this series if it wasn't for the heroics of Sergei Bobrovsky in game one, who blanked them 2-0. You know, here's an interesting record I want people to understand. Their record after losing 3 straight games under Chris Knobloch from November 24th through December 12th was 8-0. December 21st through January 27th, they were 16-0. And from February 26th to March 5th, they were 5-0. In other words, after streaks, they don't like to lose. Katie Ebling.
You know, the Panthers don't like to lose, though, either. And the Panthers, they looked flat on Saturday. Yesterday's game, was it yesterday's game or was it? Yeah, it was yesterday's game. They played well. They didn't play well enough to win, obviously. I want to know where their offense was, because their offense seemed, the first couple of games, they were taking way more shots than Edmonton. These last 2 games, they really haven't. Yes, Sergei Bobrovsky hasn't. He gave up a couple of really good goals, though, too, this last game. If you watched, the thing that scares me is that Edmonton even scored on their power plays, and that just shouldn't happen. I don't know. I have to say this. I'm kind of scared for Florida, because obviously I'm rooting for Florida. I'm down here. I live down here. I want to see them win, but they lost last year, and I hate to say it, but I don't know if they're choking under pressure or what. Or is Edmonton just that much better?
Well, let's look at the last 2 games. That's the reason why this series is continuing. As Connor McDavid would say, we're going to drag them back to Alberta. That's exactly what they've done. But on Saturday night, Edmonton won 8-1. Connor McDavid came up big with 4 points. And if that wasn't good enough, the 5-3 win last night, McDavid added another 4. So that's where we're at, 3-2 with the game over at Rogers Center on Friday night. JB Ellis, are you surprised that Edmonton has made a series out of this?
Not at all. If anything, I'm kind of scared for Florida. Worst thing to happen, first of all, in any of the pro sports, the one that you could lose a 3-0 lead easiest is hockey, because everything's dependent on the goalie. If you get a hot goalie or a cold goalie, the series can change in a second. Edmonton scored 8 goals in game 4 and then followed it up with a win on the road. Now they're going back home for game 6. Both teams are traveling a ridiculous amount of distance and time. All the pressure is on Florida. Edmonton just has to go out there and play their game. If they win, they get to play one more. If they lose, they were down 3-0. They lost the series. Who cares? So they have no pressure whatsoever. Florida, on the other hand, has to say, wow, we had this series, but now we're back here. If we don't win it here, now we're playing a game 7 after traveling another 2,500 miles, 2,500 plus miles. And, the pressure is all on them right now. If I'm Edmonton, I'm loose, I'm relaxed. Just got to go out and play a game in front of our home crowd. What could be better? And if you win, you guaranteed a winner-take-all game. I got to love Edmonton in game 6.
Well, Joe, what you're telling me that Edmonton's playing on house money, aren't you?
Yep.
Okay. Fair enough. All right, George.
Well, I had picked Florida in 6, so that's still possible. But I don't know what's going on. I think that, things have finally caught up with Florida, and that's not good. because, like you said, the last game was a blowout yesterday. They just had their number again, and it's not looking good right now because Connor McDavid, when he starts scoring, look out. And Scott, you're right. All those long winning streaks Edmonton had really proved to me that they never give up. They're not a team that's ever going to give up. So this thing is becoming a really, real fun series to watch. And the league obviously had to add those extra days for travel, which was smart. So it's a 2-day break after each or before each trip. So that being said, we're seeing a hell of a finals. I'm telling you, very exciting. And I would not want to be a Panther right now. This is really getting to be something special. It could be for Edmonton.
Yeah, what, 2,451 miles? Yeah, you're right. They had to go out there to have the second travel day. Without a doubt. I think the one thing in this series that I actually predicted Florida would win it in 7. I thought it was going to be a very tough series to begin with. Let's face the reality. You got Connor McDavid, and, you've got Sam Reinhart, who's gone out with 57 goals, and Matthew Tkachuk, I believe, who's obviously a big factor, and Aaron Ekblad and Sergei Bobrovsky have been playing some great hockey all year. So with all due respect, but the reality is they're in the playoffs. That's what they are. And like Joe says, when it comes down to a winner take all, anything's happening. But I'm not going to venture. I do predict the Oilers are going to go out there and beat Florida Friday night. Then it gets interesting after that. It goes back to the same Game 7. But I think the biggest thing that I found as I was looking up this information is when you see a team that's lost 3 in a row and they're putting a 5-0, 16-0, and 8-0 streaks together in the same season, they don't care. They're treating this series as though it's a regular season. Winning 4, all they're thinking, all we need to do, folks, is just win 4 in a row, and that's it. Not 5, not 12, not 16, that kind of stuff. So, 4, 8, 12, whatever. I mean, they're not afraid to put together long winning streaks as well. So it's certainly going to be a heck of a series. And you know what? For all those folks that paid $50 for parking over at the Panthers Arena, okay, you may have to fork out another $50 because they're going to gouge on the parking there, and as if the playoffs weren't high enough. All right, well, let's go.
The worst part about it is, Scott, is the traffic jams. We live 12 miles away from the Panthers Stadium, and some of the major expressways that I take to come home and to come south, there are a lot of people that are on those expressways as well. So I can tell you, last night getting home took me a lot longer because of the extra traffic. Don't get me wrong, it's great. It's great for the community. It's great for the city and for South Florida. But it does pose some of us regulars some extra little headaches. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, you only may have to worry about it one more time because they're not worrying about it up in the Calgary of Alberta, Edmonton. All right, well, let's go from one finals to another. The NBA Finals, the Dallas Mavericks could not overcome a major obstacle. Teams that were down 3-0 were 0-156, and Boston won the series 4-1. Now that number changes to 0-157. Boston has 18 championships. The Lakers have 17. The only reason why the Lakers got to 17th is they got it in the bubble. So with that said, and let me go over the scores of these games too. Can't say that they were the most interesting games when 3 of the 5 were blowouts, but Boston won the first one 107-89. Boston was victorious with the second one 105-98. Boston 106-99 in game 3. Game 4, Dallas 122-84. Of course, Boston figured, we'll finish the job at home, 106-88. And the only thing that happened with Boston was you had the Boston Massacre and the ones that were paying the price for the Dallas Mavericks. So with that said, Candy, we'll lead it off with you again. The NBA Finals, okay? Boston, this team, this city, they win championships every decade, but were you surprised at the dominance that they had over the Dallas Mavericks?
I was, but I suppose I shouldn't have been because Boston won their 17th title on June 17th. They won their 18th title on June 17th, 2024, and their area code is 617. So that's kind of ironic. Al Horford, it's his first Dominican player in NBA history to win a title. Drew Holiday is the first NBA player when he switches teams, his first year on a team, to win an NBA championship twice. He did it with the Bucks, and he did it now with the Celtics. Now, what I would say is Milwaukee lost out on this one because that trade to get Damian Lillard and send Drew Holiday away bit Milwaukee Bucks in the butt. I'll be honest with you, because Dame does not have granted, Drew does not score like Dame does, but Dame does not play defense like Drew does. And you need both. And the other thing that Drew Holiday brings that I don't know that anybody else on even the Milwaukee Bucks team brings is the camaraderie. The really, he is a really good player, really good person. The community loved him. He gelled with everybody. Yeah, I was surprised how big the scores were, the differences between the two teams, but it also has to do with being healthy at the right time or not being healthy at the right time and being hot. Because let's face it, in any sports, when you're hot, you're hard to beat.
George?
And every sports goes through slumps. Like, let's face it, batters go through batting slumps. Football goes through them, basketball, hockey, they all do. And if you are not hitting on all cylinders at the right time, it's hard to beat anybody.
Okay, George.
Yeah, I echo what you said there, Candy. I mean, but the Celtics, they're on a roll. They're on a mission. They knew it. They haven't been able to clinch or exceed, let's say, the record by the Lakers that they were tied for with the 17 championships. And now they got number 18. And they just got a great lineup. Let's be honest. I mean, come on, Jason Tatum, you look at somebody like that, and I knew he was destined to be a star. I knew he was destined to be a champion. They put a great team together, a great lineup, winning day in and day out. I think that was just an aberration there with Dallas blowing them out the game before last. And, Boston's time was now. Most experts obviously went with Boston to win it all. And they were right, I don't like to see lopsided series, but every once in a while you're going to have one. Dallas has nothing to be ashamed of. What were they, 5th seed or something like that in the West? So, but Boston Celtics, that great aura, that great tradition, like Red Auerbach and Larry Bird and Kevin McHale and all those greats that we've seen over the years. This team has to rank up there as well. So congratulations. I'm glad it was a team from the East because I'm an East guy. And I think the Celtics deserved it. And hats off to them.
Okay, Joe.
Listen, I coined the phrase before the finals. This is Tatum's tainted championship title. Tatum's tainted title. Dallas couldn't even stay in the same building with them. Game 4, it was what it was. They had a bad shooting night. They sweeping them or winning at 5 makes no difference. They got to win at home. Dallas, they were lucky to get there. Give them a lot of credit for beating the great teams in the West, but they weren't going to compete against the Celtics. We all knew that. We all hoped that it'd be a series. It was probably one of the worst NBA playoffs in recent memory. I can't think of any that was this boring in many years, but it was what it was. Congratulations to the Celtics. I mean, they're one up on the Lakers now. Good for them, but I don't think it was saying much for them to beat Dallas. They really were a challenge. It just was what it was.
Well, Bob Cousy, who's 95 years old, said he wants to see that 18th championship. Bob, you got it. But here's the one thing that we have to acknowledge. Number one, Joe Mazzulla becomes the second youngest coach to win an NBA championship at 35 when you had Bill Russell who did it. And let's not forget the architect of all of this is Brad Stevens, who coached at Butler, coached in the NBA for a while and decided to move upstairs. How did that work out? Worked out well as he orchestrated a lot of the key trades that enabled, the Celtics to win. He brought in Kristaps Porzingis as part of the piece. And he was able to, of course, he brought in Rue Holiday. We already talked about that. And then the other guy that he ended up bringing in, we talked about Porzingis. I'm trying to remember. Those were the two that stand out. But Rue Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis, a lot of role players. You got to have a great front office to be able to put these things together. And Brad Stevens did that. There's one guy that I'm trying to think of off the top of my head. It's not coming to me. Maybe it will later in the show. But with that said, Candy, why don't you go out there and give a station break?
This show is sponsored by the South Florida Tribune Publishing Company, which published a book that Scott wrote and George wrote the foreword. Lessons from the Microphone, tuning into the enduring wisdom of visionary leaders. It is about media and how it has changed over Scott's 40 plus years in the business. It's available on Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, Google, and Apple Books. We are working on the audio version. The other thing is we have a website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where you can see George's writing, Scott's writing, my pictures, and you can catch all of our broadcasts on there. If you see the red subscribe button by George, that means you haven't subscribed to us. Hit us, share us, like us, tell all your friends, subscribe. Also, JB has his Sideline Sports. Make sure you go and subscribe to them as well. Ours are available on wherever you get your podcasts. So Google, Apple, Deezer, Castbox, you name it. Wherever you get your podcasts, you can listen to us. You also, if you want to advertise or sponsor a show, call Scott 954-304-4941. On our website, there is also a link. You can go shopping and get South Florida Tribune merchandise or Motor City Madmouth merchandise. Go get yourself a hoodie. You can also, if you like to listen to us, Monday nights we do baseball. Tuesday nights we do football. Wednesday nights we do any kind of sports. Thursday nights we do Fire Up. You never know what we're going to have on that show. Wednesday nights, preceding the show, Scott does a show on nofilter.net. It's a one-on-one interview show called the Motor City Madmouth Show. Go check out the interviews. He's done Mel Farr, an NFL player. He did Coach Bono, a cancer survivor who used to coach in the NFL. You've done Mike Massaro was tonight. That was talked about NASCAR. You've done Deb Whitcos, and she does a girls podcast and is into TV and movies. Go check out all of those great interviews. Back to you, Scott.
Thank you, Candy. And, we have Deb, we have Jack Berkane, who's also promoting a book as well. That's all right. That's out there as well. So also, if you want to follow me on Twitter at Tribune South. With that said, I'm really happy for Jeff Van Gundy. Gets the championship ring as a senior consultant with the Celtics. And where's he going? He's going to be the lead assistant for the LA Clippers and joining Tyronn Lue as well. So, all right, let's talk about the laughable fact of the day. The Lakers lead 1-0 in the in-season tournament championship. I wish I had a round of applause and a laughing thing because that's what it is. Darvin Ham is back in Milwaukee as an assistant coach, and the Lakers are looking for a coach. All right, Joe, what do you think about that in-season tournament?
Listen, it's just something to make the NBA regular season tournament fun because it's way too long and you can't really shorten the season too much. The league did a good thing with that. The winner of it, who really cares? I mean, it's, just a fun thing to do at the beginning of the year. The Lakers could have the lead. There'll be somebody else next year because the Lakers are horrible. Who knows? The Celtics, if they wanted to win it, could have won it this year. A lot of teams could have. Milwaukee, they were good enough. Denver, they just don't care about winning the in-season tournament. It's, it's like a meaningless September baseball game when your team's 20 games out of first place.
Well, you got the best analogies for a tournament I really don't even care about. And you know what? I'm not even going to comment on it, except I don't even care about that in-season tournament. And the Lakers can hang that pseudo banner up over at what do they call it, crypto.com arena. And if you want to have that banner, it's almost like a participation trophy as far as I'm concerned. I don't like it. I don't care for it. That's what I think. Joe made his comments. I'm done. but George Eichhorn isn't.
No, I was not a big fan of that tournament either. Of course, Detroit had no factor in it at all, but Lakers are not a good team right now. There's a lot of tension. LeBron, there's a lot of, dissension. And, the thing with Darvin Ham, I think that, we say it, but it's never going to happen. Grow up, LeBron, and it's not going to happen. But you're right. I didn't get anything out of that in-season tournament. I know why they did it. And JB, like you says, they want to get some attention early on. And obviously the league wants to have some notoriety back in the early December time frame when college football and pro football is hogging all the headlines. But no, it didn't mean anything to me. And that would be a banner that I wouldn't even want to look at, to be honest with you, if they indeed want to put that up, because that means nothing. Yeah, a few extra bucks maybe for some of those players. But to me, I give them credit, but to me, it didn't catch on at all. And I don't know how many fans it really did.
Well, I'll just say this before I turn to Candy. Number one, David Stern wouldn't be caught dead with it. Number two, okay, if they play old basketball where defense matters and fans can get used to it, then I don't think you need a gimmick like that just to go ahead and keep it interesting during a part of the year to begin with. Nobody ever pays attention to the NBA until Christmas anyways, and then after the first of the year. But that's neither here or there. I guess a lot of folks can tell I don't like it. So, all right, Candy.
So the NBA season is how long? They have to do something because, like George said, they're trying to compete for the NFL audience, college football audience. Am I a fan of it? I'm not a huge fan of the NBA. I don't watch a lot of NBA. I'll be completely honest. So did I watch the in-season tournament? No. But do I watch regular season games? Very rarely. So to me, if the NBA wants to spark something because they want to change things up because the season is too long and so they're trying to do new things, go for it. I'm all for you trying to, change up your product a little so that more people watch it or see it or whatever. Fine. Go right ahead. I'm not going to be part of it anyway. So what they do doesn't matter really to me.
Right.
Does it mean anything that you won that in-season tournament? Well, just bragging rights that you can say that. Let's face it, the Florida Panthers won the President's Cup and didn't win the Stanley Cup.
Right.
So ask them which one's more important to them. Ask the Lakers, is it more important to win the in-season tournament or would it be more to be NBA champions? So whatever NBA wants to do, go right ahead. They're the drama league anyways, so.
Look at that. There you go, Candy. Well, you picked up a lot of my jargon. I call the NBA folks the NDL, the National Drama League. And believe me, you'll see a lot of it. Yeah. I even got a little bit of a smile out of Joe Ellis, who's probably the most poker-faced individual I've ever been around.
I don't know, Scott. The WNBA's got a lot of drama too now.
All right. Stop it, George. All right. Well, speaking of that, I'm going to get to it. So, all right. Don't. But anyway, let's talk about the WNBA. Gino Auriemma believes that Caitlin Clark is being targeted in the WNBA. The average attendance, by the way, at WNBA games with Caitlin this weekend was 17,337. All the other games were 7,008. And if that isn't good enough, last year the Fever went ahead and drew for 20 games. You're talking 81,336, and this year, 82,857 for 5 games. Well, come on, folks. I didn't make these numbers up. They are what they are. I mean, Caitlin Clark is a real deal. And you know what? I believe in Gino. I think he's right. She's a target that shouldn't be a target. And I'm not saying that you're not going to play hard and mess up. But the whole idea is I don't understand all the grief that she's getting. But if it weren't for her, this league would not be on the verge of signing a better TV contract, let alone the fact that I think it was a mistake. She's not even on the Olympics, but don't get me started there. But Caitlin Clark and Gino Auriemma, I'm on point with both of them. Candy, with that said, where we go from here?
Kudos to Caitlin Clark, because to be honest with you, people were calling out the hit that Angel put on her the other night, and she's like, it was a basketball move. Like, it happens in the game. Like, she's trying to, from what I can tell, trying to be more the normal person. Like these are, she's not out there trying to get all this stardom. Is it happening? Yes. Great. Because honestly, she's playing in the WNBA. It's a product and it's a business, and they want more attendance. So they're going to try and do whatever they can to get more attendance, to put more attention on the WNBA. So that's great. She's a young, and I can't even say she's a star yet because this is her first year there. Did she do well in college? Yes. Did she set records? Yes. Is she you can kind of almost compare her to Tim Tebow, because Tim Tebow got all kinds of attention as well, just like Caitlin's getting, and not by being a star in the league or anything like that. Is she playing okay? She's playing okay. But does she deserve all of this? No. Has she asked for all of this? No. But you know what? She's part of it, and she's what's drawing people, and more power to everybody, because she seems like she's pretty level-headed, if you ask me.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's hard. Let me repeat these attendance numbers. My gosh. I mean, this weekend she draws 17,337, and the other game 7,008. You're talking about 10,000 difference between them. And they've already surpassed her attendance total from a year ago in 15 left games. Now, you can't make these numbers up. They are what they are. But that said, Joe, let's talk about Gino Auriemma. Do you agree with him? And let's talk about the Caitlin Clark effect.
So she's definitely being targeted. There's a lot of jealousy of her. Listen, she's a really good basketball player. Is she the best player in the WNBA? I don't watch enough of it to know, but I think she's really good. I think that there are better players that have played before her. I think there are better people in the league now. Do I think she's handled herself the best she could under the circumstances with everything that happened she's brought up? I think she's a rock star for it. Do I like Caitlin Clark? Absolutely not. But you know what? I have nothing but respect for how she's handled herself. Yeah. The fact that she's become the face of the league and has to put up with with drama about everything. The poor woman can't do anything without drama. She didn't get selected to play in the Olympics. So that's, everyone talks about that for how long now. Then Angel Reese fouls her on a basketball play. So everyone goes crazy, they're targeting her in this instance, where I think it was just a basketball play. And they do have a history, the two of them. But, Angel Reese wants to play professional basketball. She's not going to do something stupid like that on the court. The girl knows she's also handled herself well with everything that's happened. But I got to give Caitlin Clark a lot of credit for how she handles herself, what she does, and we'll see what the future holds if she turns out to be the star that everyone's putting on her, or if she doesn't live up to the hype. But either way, it's great for the league. It's bringing plenty of numbers, and more power to them.
Yeah, the way I look at Caitlin Clark thus far, she's the best thing that's happened to that league in ages, that's for sure. And she'll be the reason why they continue to expand as that league continues to get more and more popular. And you need somebody like her to be the, obviously the core player that is a drawing card. Go ahead, George.
Well, I agree with some of the things that have been said. I think she has been a target, but a lot of rookies are targets in every sport. Hey, Rook. Hi, Rook. Go prove yourself. Baseball, basketball, football, hockey, whatever it is. Rookies have to prove themselves. But she's a different rookie. What she accomplished her last couple of years at Iowa and put women's basketball back on the map when somebody like her came along and grabbed the headlines. And you're right. The attendance has been through the roof. Outstanding attendance for the WNBA in this new season. But yeah, I think they're testing her mettle. I think they're challenging her, established stars in the league, and even some rookies going up against her. They want to see what she's made out of. And obviously, they don't want her to win because they're not on her team. That goes without saying. But come on, we don't need hack a foul. We don't need hack a shack. We don't need her to be, bloody down the floor and stupid stuff like that. But what we are seeing is, in effect, a chance to see, hey, how tough is this lady? How tough can she play this game? So whether it's early in the season and maybe it gets a little bit better, I think that she's doing well. She's handling herself well. You don't want to get into a match where you're condemning each other and making fun of each other and having that kind of stuff hang over the league. So I think it's an attempt by some to challenge her, see what she's really made out of. But I agree. I mean, she's been phenomenal for the league thus far.
All right, Candy, why don't you put your piece of information up there for everybody here? I like this. This is pretty good.
Sunday's matchup between Clark's Indiana Fever and Reese's Chicago Sky had an average of 2.25 million viewers on CBS, drawing the largest audience of the season and becoming the most watched WNBA game in 23 years, John Lewis of Sports Media Watch reports.
So there you go. What can I tell you? She's a drawing card on TV and at the gate. All right, let's shift our way to the National Football League. We talked about this on Inside the Pigskin. I thought it was worth bringing up again. The Alabama Crimson Tide rolls into Detroit. You got Jamison Williams, Jamar Gibbs, Brian Branch, and Terrion Arnold. Here's the thing. When you have luck and you go to one school, you must go back again. And the Lions have certainly found a way to utilize the Alabama Crimson Tide as a way or a good source to get good players. You got 4 of them here. So, George, you're in Metro Detroit. What are your thoughts about the Crimson Tide and those 4 players rolling into Metro Detroit?
Well, I know my 2 nieces, both of them attended University of Alabama and live in this area, are very happy for that. Nick Saban has done a tremendous job coaching players and making them better people on the football, on the gridiron, and off the gridiron. It doesn't surprise me. Like you said, Scott, once you start something and it works out, hey, go back to that well again. And the Lions are no different than any other team. Dan Campbell sees greatness out of these players, and the 2 that were drafted, the 4 of them all together. It's he's building that team, but he's building it with success and with winners. Those young men were winners on the court, on the gridiron. So doesn't surprise me. Yeah, to some it may look like it's a little favoritism. Oh, why didn't he pick 4 Michigan players? Well, he got Hutchinson. But the fact of the matter is like I said, when you got a winning program, a tradition, like was established by Saban down there at Alabama, you're going to have a lot of young men drafted and helping out teams in the NFL. It is rather different for Detroit to rely on the Alabama connection, but I think so far so good, and they hope to strike it again with the 24 season around the corner.
Yeah, very good. And let's face reality. We know the upside with offensive players like Jahmyr Gibbs and Jamison Williams, but let's not sell Brian Branch short and Terrion Arnold as well. Joe, what are your thoughts about one team going back to another college to be able to produce some first-class players like the Lions have done at the University of Alabama?
So, I mean, if you look at a lot of teams, they have a lot of guys from Alabama. How many people from the University of Alabama are playing in the NFL? So it's not just the Lions, and that really comes down to what Nick Saban did with the program. The way he ran it for all the years while he was there, the quality of recruits he got and how he turned them into formidable players as they developed. And for the Lions, they've done a great job with who they've drafted. Picking 4 guys from a quality program that were playing under an NFL-style coach in college is not a bad thing. That's why the Lions have gotten where they have. They've done really well in the front office, and I foresee them continue to do well.
Candy?
Let's put a little perspective on this. At the beginning of the 2023 to 24 season, Alabama led all schools with 57 former players on active rosters in the NFL. The University of Alabama football program had 10 total former players selected in the 2024 NFL draft, and a total of 36 former Crimson Tide players will spot the active roster, practice squad, or injured reserve of their respective team Looking to make another run to the Super Bowl, the Philadelphia Eagles have the most tied alumni of any roster in the postseason with 7 as of January of last year. So Alabama, let's face it, they have had a historic program and results for many years. And who wouldn't, as a team, want to be a part of that and have some of that success translate to the NFL and onto their team? So kudos to Detroit. I would probably say there's probably a couple of different programs that you would want. Obviously, Alabama would be one. Michigan would probably be another one that that a lot of your former players went on to the NFL. There's probably a couple of other big ones, but Alabama for the longest time was one of the most historic that I would say with Nick Saban and their former players. Now we'll see now that Nick Saban has retired if that continues to be the case for years to come.
Yeah, when the Miami Hurricanes are right, and I've seen their pro days down there, you get an awful lot of scouts there. I mean, Miami Hurricanes produce tons and tons of NFL prospects, that's for sure. Hey, Mark, good evening. Glad to have you on here tonight. Mark, obviously, we have a lot of fun with him on Monday night. Joe gets him too, don't you, over on Sideline Sports?
Yeah, his show's on our network. Does a great job. Hard-working guy. Gotta love what he does.
No, Mark, I actually met Mark over at the Baseball Hall of Fame, although I met him on Twitter. And then we connected at the Baseball Hall of Fame. He's been a fixture with us, and I'm glad he's doing some good things as well. Thanks for being in here, Mark. We appreciate you very much. So, yeah, but I think when the Miami Hurricanes are right, they produce a lot of players. And I was at the recent pro day. My gosh, you just saw the scouts there. And again, we're talking, let's face the reality. When you look at other schools, USC's another one when they're right. So I'm not going to get into all that, but
Ohio State
too.
Yeah.
But Alabama, the Lions have found a good source over there to get players. And I've always said, if you can run to the well, you run to the well. Everybody have a chance to comment on this?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, very good. Well, let's stay in Detroit, shall we? Okay. But this guy here has the greatest agent. He's way better than Bobby Bonilla. I never thought I'd see the day, but Monty Williams got fired by the Pistons. Tom Gores owes him $65 million. If that wasn't good enough, he got fired by the Phoenix Suns. So this guy's getting $85 million to stay at home. My goodness, please, okay, find me an agent like this. I need an agent. $85 million to stay at home. And actually, I think the leading candidate for that job is probably going to be James Borrego anyways. That's why I think he'll ultimately get it. But with that said, Candy, Monty Williams, this isn't Monty Hall. We're talking Monty Williams. Let's make a deal or let's stay home. Oh, I had to get that Monty Hall one in. I really, really did. And there's no better place to start than Monty Williams / Monty Hall. All right, Candy.
Honestly, do you really feel bad for him? I mean, I hate to say this, but the Pistons are not I want that job. I want that job organization. I'm sorry. They're not.
Don't apologize to me.
I'm
sorry. They've been relevant in a long time. They haven't been relevant in a long time. Say it how you speak.
Exactly. So why? I mean, if for him, why would he be upset at this point? Like, you're going to get paid, and you don't have to have the headaches that you have with that organization. I will say one thing though. In today's sports arena, in all of the different sports, if you don't produce results and produce them quickly, you will be out quickly. They are getting quicker and quicker with pulling the hooks on these coaches, managers, all around all the different respective leagues. If you don't have the results that they want, they're going to be quick to pull you. And money obviously doesn't seem to be an object, because look at, they're paying $65 million there. There's other, the Bucks are paying how many coaches right now?
That's true.
That aren't coaching the Milwaukee Bucks. So, they could all, I want one of those contracts. I'll take it just for a year, and then I'm good.
Yeah, billion-dollar owners that can eat, George, right?
Oh man, I tell you, I don't, I'm not a Tom Gores fan. I wonder about him sometimes. This whole situation in Detroit has been nothing but one rebuild after another. The Pistons have gone nowhere. One of the worst teams in the league the last half dozen years. It's just been an incredibly inept situation. Then you spend all that money to lure him over here after Phoenix let him go. And you gave him a ton of money, like you guys said. Right now, Detroit is still a laughing stock. I don't think he had a clue as to how to get that team motivated to win, how to get that team to play some defense, which obviously we know is a bygone era for the NBA right now. Learn how to play defense. But Monty's running to the bank with all that cash. But I feel most sorry for the fans. Obviously, they got rid of Troy Weaver, the general manager. Now they got rid of their head coach. And it's a situation where the rebuild is continuing. But the fact is that on a personal note, we hope that his wife is feeling better, because originally Monty was going to take off a year from coaching until Gores lured him back to be with his wife, who's suffering from some cancer. So all kidding aside, I mean, he'll take some time now and help her out, but it's been a bust. It's been a really bad situation in Detroit, and the Pistons they got to take it one step at a time, and he wasn't part of the solution to fix this sad sack team right now.
Well, when you think about it, I believe the move was made upstairs between Arn Tellem and Tom Gores, if I understand correctly. And Trajan Leyland, all he did was really deliver the news.
Yeah.
Is what he did. He was just a messenger in this case. But, I think now Trajan has an opportunity to bring his own guy in. And, this rebuild seems to have taken a lot longer. Other teams are getting it done 2 or 3 years. But Troy Weaver kept just missing one draft choice after another. You can't do that. This guy's never going to get another general manager job. And Monty probably, Garrick's got $85 million. So, hey, honey, babes, hate to tell you this, wish I could have been here 1 year, but I'm not going to apologize to get another $65 million. And how much he got paid for 14 wins out of that salary is beyond my mathematics realm. I probably have it somewhere, but 14 wins, and $65 million to go, Joe. I'm telling you, not bad, is it?
When you look at the NBA salary structure, even for coaches, unbelievable. What a job. They should really, every one of the players should call Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Dr. J, and Michael Jordan every day and say thank you.
Yeah.
Because, those four of them, were when the league kind of transformed and got saved. Granted, Bird and Magic were the two most important because there was a rivalry there. But $85 million to sit at home, good for him. And George, you can't motivate players that are making $60 million a year, $30 million a year. They just gotta want to win. You're not going to motivate somebody who's getting $30 million. If you're not motivated already, so you can get another $30 million. What can I say to you that's going to make you motivated, George? Nothing. It's a shame that Detroit's tried. They've had a lot of early draft picks. They have talent. They just aren't playing good basketball. Maybe the pieces don't fit well together. I don't think it would matter who coached them. They could, rotate us in there. We may be able to get 14 wins, and they would have saved $85 million.
Well, the reality is they played with nothing but rookies last year to begin with. So Monty Williams didn't have an answer. They certainly needed veterans in there. Troy Weaver didn't do anything to help. But you know what, Joe? I'm really glad you brought up Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, and the rest, because you know what? I think these players today are, why do you think Charles Barkley's retiring? He's sick and tired of watching all this anyways. And we'll talk about Charles probably next week a bit more detailed, but I'm bringing that up as well, just kind of as a reminder. But the reality is, doesn't it make you think about the NFL where they don't have guaranteed contracts and make you wonder? I mean, you're never going to get around it now with hockey, okay, which now we're put a lot of stock in their guaranteed contract because they're down on the food chain in terms of the salary cap, fourth. But then you have the NBA and MLB, and again, we all know that the ratings are down in the NBA to begin with because of the style of play. But this is just another reason where, I think at some point the owners are going to have a cap on coaches, what you can pay them. I think that's inevitable, what you might see down the road. But no, I'm glad, Joe, that you did bring up Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. If it weren't for them, the NBA would be broke anyways. Once upon a time, this league was on tape delay. I can't say it was bad, though, when I was working at the Highland House years ago in the kitchen, because I used to get off at 10:30, 11 o'clock and watch the games at 11:30, so it really didn't bother me any. But it was unbelievable. Sorry. Well, you know what? Final topic of the night. Fortunately, I have to talk about it. Willie Mays passed away at the age of 93, 2 days before the game between the Giants and the St. Louis Cardinals to honor the Negro Leagues at Rickwood Field, Birmingham, Alabama, tomorrow. Well, you know what, Joe? The last few weeks have been very good. We've lost Bill Walton, Jerry West, and now we've lost Willie Mays. Say what you want about O.J. Simpson, okay? But he was a big name that we lost here. And if you're a Rocky fan, Carl Weathers went down. This has been rough, Joe. Willie Mays, the say hey kid, isn't saying anything anymore, unfortunately. But you know what? He was the oldest living Hall of Famer, and now, unfortunately, taken upon us. But the only thing about him is at least he passed away in his sleep peacefully. So, God, rest in peace, Willie. You'll certainly be missed, and I'm glad I've had a chance to see your plaque over at Cooperstown. Joe, take it from there, please.
I mean, you could argue that he could possibly be the best Major League Baseball player in history. The fact that you could say that about somebody says it all. I mean, you have people like Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron, Ohtani, Willie Mays. Can you imagine? He possibly is the greatest of all time. And if you made that argument to me, I can't say you're wrong, because he did everything. So, it's a shame. He loved the game. He was around the game for many years. He was the godfather to Barry Bonds. He unbelievable fielder, could hit for average, could hit for power. He was a leader. He played in the Negro Leagues. He played when it wasn't easy for an African American to play in Major League Baseball. And, just unbelievable. I wish I could have seen him play, but all I can say is I've heard how great he was. And looking at everything I've seen and everything I've read, I can't disagree. He's definitely one of the top three of all time.
Oh, I saw him play when I was a kid, but don't remember much. Candy, let's go back to the Mark Meriday comment. I really like this one from Mark. Thanks for putting it in there. NFL is kicking around is kicking around a specific salary cap for QBs. So why not coach? Good point. Yeah, I think the quarterback situation is getting way out of control. That's what I thought. Sorry, George. What about Willie, the say hey kid?
Oh, yeah. The say hey kid. What a great career. Number 24. The Giants. Oh, my goodness. I mean, you're talking about an era when we had Mickey Mantle and Joe DiMaggio, and we had Al Kaline and Ernie Banks. And fans could identify. They could identify quickly with one of their superstars, or in the case of some teams, multiple superstars. A Bob Gibson, a Lou Brock with the Cardinals. The list goes on and on and on. But I think he was the most complete, best player in all-time history. His defense, his offense, his hitting, his running. I mean, he's phenomenal. I know I really enjoyed hearing about him. I did not follow him. I was a little too young, but just a great man, a great career. And our dear friend, Scott, Ernie Harwell, I know he spoke really highly to us about Willie Mays, and being one of his all-time favorites. And no question about it. It's ironic that it's happened 2 days before the game back to Alabama, where he started, and Rickwood Stadium. But hats off to a great man and a great human being, and the most complete player I've seen in MLB history.
Yeah, Ernie Harwell used to tell me all the time that he always thought that Willie Mays was the all-time best. I don't know how much he saw Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig and the rest, but it'd be hard to argue against Willie Mays. The guy can make circus catches the way that he did. And let's face it, really, he started with the New York Giants, with the San Francisco, finished his career with the New York Mets. So, and he was actually a contributor on that 1973 World Series team that went all the way to the World Series but lost to the Oakland A's. With that said, Candy, I know that Willie may have been a little bit before your time, but I'm sure you got something that you can add to this.
Mays spent 21 seasons with the Giants, winning a World Series, a staggering 12 gold gloves, and a pair of MVPs. He also, obviously, the fans were at Rickwood Field attending a major league game in Mays' native state of Alabama, reacting to the news. All of Major League Baseball is in mourning today as we are gathered at the very ballpark where a career and a legacy like no other began, MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred said in a statement. Willie Mays took his all-around brilliance from the Birmingham Black Barons of the Negro American League to the historic Giants franchise. From coast to coast, in New York and San Francisco, Willie inspired generations of players and fans as the game grew and truly earned its place as our national pastime. Obviously, I didn't see him play, but you always hear his name, like Willie Mays. Willie Mays did this in baseball. What he did for the game and how he played, there'll be no player like him. You know, and it's sad because we, like you said, we have lost a lot of named figures in the different respective sports as of late.
Yeah, we sure have. Yeah, I mean, Willie Mays, I always enjoyed seeing his paraphernalia over at Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. I'm sure Mark Meriday could attest to that too, since he's been there as well. All I could say, Willie Mays, rest in peace. You know, you were everything that was right about the game. Willie Mays was definitely a part of it. It's, you know, when I heard a couple of days ago he wasn't going to be able to make it, I said, I think something's probably up with Willie. And lo and behold, we got the news that we probably hoped that we were not going to hear. Hello, Ralph. Glad that you can tune into us. So one last thing we'll talk about. Unfortunately, I had to have a couple RIPs at the very end, but this one's a very interesting. This one here is almost like history repeating itself again. Josh Maravich, the son of Hall of Famer Pete Maravich, who died at the age of 42. In 1988, Pete died of a heart condition that was undetected at age 40, and Josh played at LSU. You know what? Let me just say this. When Elvis Presley died many years ago, I think that there were heart issues, I think, with his mom years ago, and that's why she prematurely died, and then Elvis passed, and now we have the same thing with the Maraviches. You know what, Josh? Rest in peace. You went way too soon. It's just unfortunate that you passed away in your 40s as well. So rest in peace, Josh. George, take it from there.
Yeah, I was surprised. I really, and it's a shocker. Anytime you hear a young person like that dying, and, you know, just an incredible basketball heritage, that family, you know, Pistol Pete, what a great example he was. And it is sad, Scott. It's unfortunate to lose somebody at that such young, tender of an age. And my sympathy to the entire Maravich family and all of basketball. And we've had, like you said, so many of these losses lately, but they especially hurt when it's a younger person such as him. And that's really something that, you know, it goes without saying, you know, constantly monitor your situation, your health, and try to stay on top of it as best you can. Especially, I know a lot of younger people, they don't like to go to the doctor, or they don't want to follow through on appointments and stuff. You got to stay with it, especially the athletes, because you just never know. None of us do. We don't know when our time is going to be. But the youngsters of the world, especially, we got to make sure that they keep their tabs on their health. And obviously, any situations, like you said, Scott, family situations, whether it's your father, your mother's background, your grandpa, whatever. So stay on top of it. And just, yeah, stunning news. We're so sorry to lose the young Maravich.
Yeah, Josh Maravich. I think the one thing about this situation is, unlike the high-profile names, I don't think a lot of this younger generation knows much about the Maravich family. They really don't. With that said, I'll turn it over to Joe. Josh Maravich. Go figure.
Yeah. It's sad to see somebody die at a young age. Got to take your health seriously. I mean, that doesn't mean he didn't, but for everyone out there, if your family has a history of something, get it checked. If you have medical coverage, hopefully go to the doctor. Take advantage of that. If you don't, see what you can do to get some and take care of yourself. You only get to live once, and your family will miss you if you got it.
True. Okay, Candy.
They say these days that you get your health from your parents. They used to say you would go back even more generations, but now they're saying it really is just your parents. So look at your parents, talk to your parents, ask them what their history is. Because if you don't have these conversations and don't know, then you can't tell your doctors what to look for and stuff as well. So yes, go to the doctor, but also talk and communicate with people, because let's face it, so many people these days want to be on these things called phones and they don't talk and communicate with people. Communicate, ask your parents before it's too late, because unfortunately, I've had numerous people lately, especially in my life, that have lost significant others, whether it be a husband or their own dad or mother. And if you don't know their history, you don't know what you should be looking for and checking for. And the younger generation, you need to understand that the habits you are forming right now will affect your health down the road. So develop healthy habits now so that carries through in the future, because let's face it, we weren't as knowledgeable when we were young of things we could eat and shouldn't eat, and what we should limit and what we shouldn't. And now we're seeing an epidemic of all kinds of different diseases that are, astronomically coming to the forefront. Cancer, heart disease, diabetes. And, we don't think of all of those that, hey, maybe some of those decisions we made when we were younger, we shouldn't have made.
Amazingly enough, how you said cancer, diabetes, and heart disease. Those are the diseases that affected my family throughout the years too. So, the heart situation I can relate to, but it's just amazingly sad that Pete Maravich dies at the age of 40 because of a heart problem. Now his son, 42, not very good. So with that said, that concludes this edition of the Sports Exchange, but we're not done yet. So George Eichhorn, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
Okay, guys, you can get a hold of me at the South Florida Tribune website. I write under the moniker of the Motor City Tribune. You can reach me at LinkedIn under my name. You can reach me at gicorn@yahoo.com, on X at sandgsports99. And I'm part of the 108 Stitches. Oh, yeah, in there. Candy's pointing to a book up there I read and wrote. George Eichhorn. George Eichhorn and Scott Morgenroth, over 40 years, we bring back memories in that book called Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air. And sadly, Scott, a lot of those people in that book are gone, but there's a link to look and purchase the book at the end of my sports columns. So thank you again. Great being on the show. Great being on the 108 Stitches and your other programs on this great network.
Okay, I'll turn over to Joe.
Go to sidelinesportsnet.com, sidelinesportsnet.com. That's Sideline Sports website. Developed by Candy. She did a great job. All our great stuff is there. You even got writing from Scott and George there. Got great pictures from Candy, I'm sure, on the site, as well as stuff that I've done and everybody else. JB_ the program on X. Sideline Sports every Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. And Confidential next week, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, Joe, I'll tell you one thing. I do want to send a special thanks to you for your help on social media, trying to spread our content out there. It means a lot. We have a lot of different variety of sources out there, and Joe Willis doesn't care where they're coming from. I'll get it out there for you. It's all about driving traffic to not only our website, but it also, we put a lot of our shows on there, and Joe's very gracious enough to share it with the abundance of followers that he has. All right, Candy, take it away. Thanks, Joe.
This show is sponsored by the South Florida Tribune Publishing Company, which published a book last November called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. which was written by none other, our visionary leader tonight, Scott Motor City Mad Mouth Morgan Roth. And George, I think you wrote a little bit in there, didn't you?
Yeah.
You did.
Forward march.
Forward. Yes. It is available on Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, Apple, and Google. Audio version is going to be available later this year. We are still working on that. If you'd like to sponsor a show, you can call Scott 954-304-4941. If you see the red subscribe button in the lower button, click it, like us, share us with everybody. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. Monday nights we do baseball, 108 such as baseball talk. Tuesday nights football, Inside the Pigskin. Wednesday nights is Sports Exchange. Thursday night is Fire Up. And Scott has a special show Wednesday nights on nofilter.net. It is called the Motor City Mad Mouth Show. And it's a one-on-one interview show. He has had numerous people on there. Go to nofilter.net. Check it out. Let's see. What else did I miss, Scott? Oh, our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. Scott writes. George writes. I take pictures. JBM, I think I even have something of yours on our website, too. But go to our website. Go to Sideline Sports website. And if you missed any of that, it's been scrolling around the bottom. Go back and rewatch and click whatever you didn't get the first time. Okay, Scott.
All right.
Wait,
and also,
one more thing. Sorry. Typically Tuesday nights, 7:30, you can catch me on an all-female podcast called Chicks and Salsa or Three Chicks in a Pod. Just depends on how many of us. But we're chicks and we talk sports and we'd love to have you.
all right. Well, yeah, you do a good job. And, I hand it to Joe Ellis. He's the one who got you in contact with them. And all of a sudden that situation's worked out real well. Also on Twitter, you can /, you can find us at Tribune South as well. So on behalf of Candy Ebling, George Eichor, Joe Ellis, my name is Scott Morgan. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the Sports Exchange. Tomorrow night on the network, we will have Fire Up. So with that said, I believe we're probably looking, Candy, around 8:15 Eastern time, I believe, somewhere in that neighborhood. So we hope you can join us then as well. So once again, on behalf of the crew, we'll see you next Wednesday night. Thank you very much for joining us and have a great weekend. If you don't get around to watching our show tomorrow, definitely have a great weekend. And I want to spend a special thanks to Mike Massaro, who went out there and was a great guest tonight, earlier today on the Motor City Mad Mouth Show. Good night, everybody.
Good night.